three core pillars of gameplay. The first is scale. Obviously, you've heard of the 256 number, our extremely large player base, unprecedented for consoles. But it's also about the size of the environments and the scale of the moments that you're engaging in. So I mean, you're dealing in squad-on-squad battles, but you're engaging in battles up to 256 players. You're seeing things that are all player-driven, moments that you have not been able to experience in the past. But with all those numbers, you need a little bit of control, and in order to do that, we implemented a command system to organize the battle. Each squad is broken up into 8 players, and each squad has one squad leader that directs the action. From there, you've got platoon leaders in charge of 4 squads, and OICs in charge of an entire company. That's 128 players. The third element of MAG that we think is the most important is persistence. Now, many of you are used to persistence in your shooters these days, talking about leveling up your character and building him and growing him, but in MAG, that's just one element. The other element is persistent battles. So every game that you participate in MAG actually means something because you're fighting over these contracts that roll over in small tournaments around every 24 hours or so. So it gives you great impact, not only for your personal character, but for the PMC that you choose to fight for. So the first thing that you do when you jump into MAG is actually choose one of these PMCs. They're all very unique, so we've got a lot of variation between them. You're not only looking at how your character performs in the game, but you're looking at things like vehicles, environments, music, separate UIs, so a lot of different look and feel for each of these. We spent a ton of time with them. And it gives you a lot of options for replayability. I mean, if you're playing with Raven, for instance, and you reach a certain level and you say, all right, I want to switch things up, I want to move over to S.V.E.R, it's a completely different experience. Now you're defending new maps, you have access to new weapons and vehicles. Makes it really fun. So once you choose your private army, and we'll look at each of the 3, the first that we want to demonstrate is Raven. Raven is based right here in Europe, out of Amsterdam. They are the most high-tech of the PMCs. They have, what you can see is very high-tech armor and gear, but they're also focused on high-tech training techniques. Where they kind of fall short is in the element of real-world experience, so they're kind of relying on their technological edge to carry them through, and they do that quite well. The second is S.V.E.R. They're kind of a ragtag loose formation all over the world. People that are kind of disenfranchised by their governments or feel abandoned and really want to come together and fight for something special. As you can see, their equipment may be kind of thrown together really loose. Some old Russian-style elements here, but what they lack in equipment, they make up for with fervor and being able to adapt to anything on the battlefield. The last is Valor. Valor are the grizzled veterans of MAG. They've seen the most experience. They had a ton of fighting in the Third World War. They have more modern equipment than you're used to, and their tactics go to match that, but they rely on strength and communication and their experience in the battlefield to try to win the day. So let's talk a little bit more about XP. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the concept of experience points. This is gained over time, of course, but what's unique in MAG is that we give you so many different opportunities to earn experience. So I mean, you're familiar with earning experience for things like killing an enemy and getting assists, but we also give it to you for healing an ally, capturing objectives, destroying assets, things like that. What's also nice is that if you're doing any of these things in either the vicinity of a commander or your current objective, you're earning double experience points, which we use as kind of a carrot to drive you through the world and say, all right, we want to incentivize players for doing the right thing, for following orders and going through the battles in a logical order. And that's going to help you to obviously build up your character as quickly as possible. So when you collect XP, that's the first mark, right? You reach certain thresholds, and then that allows you to level up your character, which is pretty traditional. Where MAG kind of stands out is that with each leveling up of the character, you earn a skill point that you're able to spend in our barracks in whatever way you deem necessary. MAG doesn't have a rigid class system. It's very loose, and it's determined by your spending of these skill points. So with each skill point, you purchase a certain item, whether it be a skill or a new weapon, an upgrade for that weapon, and that allows you to look at these different things. So we have skills, weapons, and attachments. Some of the things that you can purchase in our barracks, which we'll look at now. So you can see this is just a short example of the barracks here. It's actually quite extensive. Any of you who participated in the beta know this by now. We've got a lot of different skill tiers to explore. And so what's nice is that you can run the gamut and go the full length of a skill tree if you're interested in maybe going to link with your assault character, getting the best possible outfit for that. Or maybe you want to go, a little bit narrower and say, all right, well, I'm more interested in personal defense and healing my teammates because I think that's going to allow me to advance faster. You have that flexibility in MAG. You can totally determine the outcome of your character. So once you've kind of unlocked a couple of things, you get to go into the armory and build your loadout. You can see a character here is a little unique from what we have normally in MAG. He's got heavy armor, but he's got an assault rifle, and he's got some other characters of traditional heavy class, including the rocket launcher. But what this character is going to be, he's going to be very flexible because he's able to take out vehicles, but he's also going to be very effective at close range. Another area of MAG that's really nice is the loadouts. You don't have one area where your character is defined. You can use the skill points that you've spent and load out a number of different characters so that you can be exceptionally flexible on the battlefield. Say if you're run over by a tank, you want to turn around and deal with him, you can change your loadout when you die and wait to respawn, and you come back in with a rocket launcher and quickly take him out. So it's nice to have that order of flexibility. You're not stuck with a class for every battle. You can kind of pick and choose and go with each death. So we've got 3 standard loadouts that we include with the ship of the game, and that's what you're going to get to experience today. We want to encourage you to go in and change these loadouts in the barracks however you see fit, but these are the 3 that we're going to start out with. The first is Assault. Again, great for frontline combat if you love just getting right in the mix of things. This is going to be perfect for you, and very good for taking and defending objectives as well. The second is the Sniper class, and he's set up for combat at a distance. If you're a little worried about engaging with 100 so odd people at one time, you can stand back a little bit, pick them off as you will. And the third is a machine gunner loadout. Set up for heavy combat, lay prone with a machine gun. You cover large swaths of area, and you have the ability to also take out armored vehicles. And with that heavy armor, you can get up and repair things without worrying about being sniped constantly. So we've got 4 primary game types in MAG: suppression, sabotage, acquisition, and domination. Each carry a unique player count with each, and objectives as well. So I'm going to take you through those briefly. Suppression is the first one we'll be starting out with today. That's 64 players, so 1 platoon of 4 8-man squads per side. It's basically like a non-lethal training exercise that you have within a PMC, and it's one of the first 2 game types that will unlock with MAG, that being training and suppression. So you got to get your feet wet before you jump into the larger, more complex battles. The second is Sabotage. It's our first objective-based game type. Same 64 players, but this time we're introducing an enemy faction into the fray. And we'll kind of take you through the objectives here. Attackers are outlined in blue, defenders in red. The goal of the attackers is to secure and hold both A and B objectives at one time. Once those are secured, that unlocks the third objective, C, and initiates a forward spawn for the attackers, which enables them to quickly dive into that area. Gets really intense. It's a very fun game type and a good introduction to the larger game types that we have coming next. So the second is Acquisition. That bumps you up to 128 players. It also introduces our higher levels of command, that being platoon, leader, and officer in charge. And the command abilities are available for them that really change the scope of the battle. It also introduces frontline defense for the first time, that being bunkers and an anti-aircraft battery, which prevents those strikes that we just talked about. So it's important for players to move through those defenses before they tackle their primary objectives, as we illustrate here. Attackers in blue again, running through the line of defensive bunkers. Once those bunkers and anti-air are taken out, forward spawns are activated, defenders fall back, with the goal of trying to knock those out, reestablish our AAA in bunkers. Meanwhile, the attackers are coming in trying to steal escorts, which is the goal of the mission, and extract those escort vehicles out to the bottom of the map, shown by the arrows below.